Good morning. We are Calpo Construction and we thank you for the opportunity to come and present to you on 701 Rio and why we should be selected as the contractor for this job. A little bit about Calpo Construction is that we began as a concrete construction company in 1950 and expanded into general construction, including multi-purpose and office buildings later. Now, we always put our clients' satisfaction and employee safety at the forefront of everything we do. Now we're going to talk a little bit about our similar projects. So some similar projects and experience that we've done that relate to 701 Rio is the Red Bluff multi-purpose development. A challenge we faced on this job was being near downtown Austin, which experienced a small laydown area and having to manage deliveries so that we didn't interfere with the public or have too many concerns for the owner. We have to do the same thing here for 701 Rio, and we're prepared to use our past experience to do just as well here. Our second job is 1920 McKinney office, and this job, something we experienced was, of course, we had an underground parking garage of 2 stories, and in there we had a very wet climate in Dallas, and with the changing weather in Texas, we adapted our schedule and we plan to do the same thing on 701 Rio if necessary. And our last project that we're going to talk about is University of Texas, Dallas, and on that job, our Calpo Concrete division did all the cast-in-place concrete and post-tension beams. And something we experienced there was working on a full operational campus and making sure extra safety measures were taken to mitigate any concerns with the public on site. Look, our project team here today, my name is Rudy. I'm the project executive for 701 Rio. Danielle Molesky is our project manager for 701 Rio, and Connor will be your site superintendent.
CCI is pleased to present to you our final GMP price for the 701 Rio. We estimate this project to be $31,793,717. This number roughly equates to $125 per square foot. We are confident we can provide you this project within budget due to our past experience and historical data we've gathered. Furthermore, our strong relationships with trade partners and local subcontractors allows us to get you the most accurate price. Listed on screen is the major scopes of work we feel is important to the job. We will be self-performing all the concrete superstructure with our self-performed division, allowing us to not only control quality, but save cost and time. Moving into our logistics, we will begin demolition shortly after the abatement of the existing buildings on site. Prior to demolition, we will have a certified arborist come in and provide any tree protection that may be required on site. We will utilize the field office located at 707 Rio Grande Street and off-site parking at 801 Nueces Street. During demolition, the existing sidewalk should remain open to the public. We recognize this as a concern as the safety of the public, and so we will provide a 6-foot fence around the entire site and providing a beefier 10-foot fence at the east wall to protect the existing historical building. On this project, we've chosen to use a slurry wall as our main soil retention system. We will excavate our slurry wall system in 15-foot sections, starting at our southwest corner and moving to the northeast to start, providing 3 days per concrete pour to allow adequate time for curing of the concrete. Additionally, during our slurry wall, we will take the West 7th Street down to a one-way road. We'll utilize jersey barriers and additional fencing, as well as signage to protect the public when walking by. Shortly after the slurry wall is complete, we'll move into our excavation. We plan on performing the excavation in 2 phases. So phase 1 will consist of the first 20 feet of excavation, where we'll utilize a truck ramp to move material and equipment in and out of the hole. We will then switch to phase 2, which will consist of the rest of the excavation, which will utilize a crane and bucket system to remove material. During the entire length of the excavation, we will have 2 temporary stair towers at all times for means of egress, as well as a cable barrier system around the entire perimeter of the excavation. Into the superstructure, we will provide an overhead protection on that Rio Grande Street for the public to keep the walkway open. We will have a hoist on site down on the southwest corner, for our hoist. We'll position our tower crane on the southern side of the building to minimize any blind picks that may need to be taken. For the exterior skin, we will install the exterior skin utilizing the tower crane as well as the 2 boom lifts in blue that you can see on screen, because we understand that the historical building is very close to the building, and so minimizing any risk of affecting their property. With the addition of Addendum 3, the owner would like an extension of the building on top of 707, as well as a bridge between 701 and 707. We'll utilize a temporary scaffolding stair to maintain 2 points of egress during the construction, as well as a trash chute to minimize any debris that may fall from the building. We will close the existing alleyway and provide overhead protection for any workers and the existing floor of 707 to minimize any danger to the public.
Now onto the construction schedule. Our substantial completion is set for November 28th of 2023. This means the project will start in May following the building permit being received. In our first 7 months of the job, our demolition, slurry wall installation, and excavation will take place, which will allow our management team to start procuring all long lead items and materials that we need for this job. This will help us complete our schedule on time and make the owner worry-free, especially with all the material shortages we are experiencing in the market right now. After the excavation's complete, all of our concrete will begin, and our concrete superstructure will be out of the ground on 3/14/2023, with the superstructure topping out on 6/12/2023. After that, we'll be able to start the new bridge addition and the 707 addition as well, and as soon as that's turned over on 9/7/2023, it'll be available for the owner to show and try and find a tenant for. On October 11th, the first floor will be closed out, and the owner will then be able to show potential tenants that space as well, with floor 2 then being finished on October 16th, which, since floors 2 through 5 are all the same, the owner can bring multiple potential tenants in to be seeing the space and what they'd be working with to move in later that year.
To touch on a few site-specific safety concerns that we'd like to address just so the owner is aware, we're going to begin with excavation. So during site excavation, there will be a perimeter, a cable barrier surrounding the site, just so to mitigate slip or fall hazards into the excavation hole that we will be creating. And progress meetings will be addressed at the beginning of each day so that all crew members and those on site are aware of their situation, of the situational awareness and the site around them. We'd also like to touch on COVID. That's been something that we have been dealing with as an industry and as a world for a little bit over 2 years now. And to mitigate that risk and how it might affect us in the future, CCI will be asking 5 screening questions every morning at the meeting huddle. Should any employees or on-site personnel answer yes to any of those questions, they are to immediately see their supervisor, and the situation will be addressed individually. If you are feeling ill or know you have any symptoms of COVID, you are not to report to site that day, and to contact your superior immediately. We will also have a third-party cleaning company come weekly so that there can be fogging and other necessary cleaning so that the site cleanliness and sanitary levels are held to a high standard. We'd also like to address overhead protection. With the addition of the 707 office space and the bridge connecting, there will be a closing of the alleyway. But in addition to that, there will be barriers added around that workspace where the equipment will be, and anybody using elevated equipment or personnel up there will be tied off at all times. There will also be additional signage posted so that everybody is aware of where they should not be in situations to quality control. CCI likes to make sure that not only for us, but in the interest of the owner, there will be the submittal, the procurement of materials, pre-phase planning, and all of those things are addressed with everybody so everyone's on the same page. Procore will be used so that not only on-site individuals, but the owner can check in with progress reports at any time. Mock-ups will be provided on site, and everybody on site will make sure that those materials are being installed and to the level of quality that were agreed upon in those things. And when the scope of work is to be completed, quality control teams will go through and complete inspections and inspection forms to make sure that we are providing the best quality work to the owner. In terms of risk management, a few factors we would like to touch on. We are aware of the historical building on the east side of our project. To mitigate the risk to that building, on behalf of the owner, we will be installing seismic monitors during the excavation phase, and crack gauges and existing conditions will be documented prior to the start of any excavation or construction work. During the vertical growth of our construction, a dust collector and wall will be added to the east side of the elevation so that there will be no dust touching that historical building to our east. We'd also like to touch on the occupied building. We are aware that there will be a tenant in the first floor of 707 while that construction is happening, and it's never easy to make sure that the people that are already there and you're entering their space are comfortable with you and aware of what's happening above them. There will be additional signage added to the site so that they are aware where not to be, and our crew members are knowing that they are in their space.
At this time, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present on 701 Rio today, and our team would be happy to answer any other questions you have for us. Thank you.
Good morning. Can you please walk me through your staffing plan for the 707 addition?
Pardon me, will you please repeat? I'm so sorry.
Can you please walk me through your staffing plan for the 707 addition?
Yeah, so we will have a full-time safety manager on site, as well as full-time superintendent and project manager, as well as a project administrator who focuses, I believe it's 5 hours a week on the site. And then we have a field engineer, 2 laborers for any miscellaneous tasks that need completed, and a project engineer.
So you have a duct bank called out between your primary transformer and your main service. Have you included in your estimate cost to concrete encase that, or is that going to be an additional cost as a change order to us when that comes across?
That number would be included in any utilities if it was required.
As part of the demolition, what's your plan for abatement?
So for abatement, we plan on having our project manager and superintendent arrive at site earlier than the rest of our staff to manage the abatement. Since the abatement would be done by owner, we would manage that, but we would provide our services, but we wouldn't have a full team there during the abatement.
Quick question. What is the longest lead items you guys are seeing on this job, and are there any opportunities to expedite?
So doors and steel, especially nowadays with the market ever changing, they are a little bit harder, and the curtain wall system, just because those are all specialty items for this project in particular. In order to do that, it would be something that we would need to sit down and coordinate as soon as the contract was awarded with the owner. Those are discussions we would have to have with those in meetings, where what risk they're willing to take, what we're willing to take, and to expedite those, we would have to, if they're okay with that, we'd have to order them right before prior to the start of construction.
So I noticed you guys are using a slurry wall construction. In reviewing the geotech, I feel like there's quite a bit of rock at this site. Does that, or has that had an effect, or would that have an effect on utilizing slurry wall?
So we have provided rock allowance in our estimate for any rock that we may hit. Additionally, looking at the slurry wall, in the sequence that we've done it, we feel that we can complete the slurry wall in the time frame that we've given.
And then one other question, y'all had mentioned mock-ups that are on site. With the site being that tight, are you allocating space on site for those mock-ups, or are you planning to do those in place?
Our plan is to use an off-site facility near one of our yards and just bring the owner over there to check in on them, and the architect, due to the site size, will just go to one of our yards, and that'll be able to work as long as the owner is willing to do that as well.
I got a quick question. This is on your CNAs. You guys stated that there will be no temporary heat used on the project. So my question is, if so, what is the plan to keep the temperature sensitive glazing at that required temperature, acceptable temperature?
So in round one, we planned on using no temporary heat with the addition and the addendums moved yesterday. We have included temporary heat in our estimate. Unfortunately, that's something we forgot to take out, but temporary heat is included and will be used in the basement We will provide storage space in our parking garage when available and monitor the material that needs temporary heat. We will provide that as well.
Regarding cost, we're very conscious of making sure that we can continue to pencil this development on the pro forma. I appreciate the competitive fee rate that you've come in with, just under 3%. Is that something that you'd be willing to negotiate and maybe reduce?
We have included a lot of our fee as well in our general conditions. We obviously are really excited to start a relationship with the owner, and that's why we chose an aggressive fee. That's something we can work out down the line, but we feel that 3% is a comfortable place for us due to the market conditions and the current industry.
We really want this project to be done on time at the date required in the RFP. Is there any part of your schedule that we can accelerate to beat that substantial completion date?
With the cost provided, we believe this is the quickest the schedule could go. If the owner was willing to provide more money and it fit in their budget, there would be some room for possible accelerations, such as an excavation. Right now, we only have two crane and bucket systems for use to get all the dirt out. If they would be willing to try and work with us on maybe expediting that, there'd be an opportunity. Or if we'd want to close out 2 floors at once where we're doing more finishes, there would be a chance for it, but it would cost a little more.
So I have a question. I thought I heard that your plan was to install the glass with the tower crane.
We would install it from the exterior, but we'd utilize the boom lifts for any exterior.
So you're not using the tower crane to install the glass?
No, it would be from the interior. Sorry.
That's it.
Thank you.
All right, judges, we got time for one more question if there's another one for the team.
So with you all planning to self-perform the concrete scope, which is the biggest on the project, what do you see as the biggest risk and how do you plan to mitigate it?
So building vertically, obviously when we're in the basement construction, we will be both putting the shotcrete walls up as well as forming the concrete for the slabs at the same time. So coordinating those tasks together is something that we put a lot of time into and we looked at very in depth. And that's why self-performing the concrete allows us to reduce that schedule and that cost because we're able to work with the concrete guys. We know what we're doing and we can translate that when working with the shotcrete subcontractor.
Another risk we saw with the concrete was if we didn't self-perform it, trying to keep all the crews moving at the same time so that we could keep them on site and efficiently close out the parking garage wouldn't be as easy to complete. So by self-performing and having a crew that we can work with, and I've worked with for many years, it is easier to manage on that standpoint as well to mitigate risk.
All right, well, thank you very much for responding to our RFP and for taking the time to come and present to us today. We do appreciate it. We'll be reaching out to you with any further questions in the near future. Thanks.
Thank you.